Hey guys, not fully understanding how this is going to work. This multi-stream, I happen to be going out to Facebook and YouTube at the same time. And because I'll be honest, I haven't exactly refreshed myself on the language of that is permissible on either of these platforms, but I'm pretty certain you can curse. I just don't want to take any chances. So we're going to see what's going to happen. Now, there's a couple of things here. Normally, I stream on Twitch, but I wanted to try something. So if you're on Facebook, let me see something in the comments. And if you're on YouTube, I see Caffeinated Viking has already said hello over there. So hi, Dave, what's going on? Let me know how the video is. I'm using my own computer to multi-stream. I'm not using a third-party service like Restream or anything like that. I've been talking with the mods about that, and we'll have to see. Oh, one thing that does need to go away, however, is better goals, because we don't really have a way to do that here. So let me get rid of that bottom bar. Also, is this thing here? There we go. That's a little bit better. Have it completely take up. All right. One of the things that we're going to be doing today, oh man, I revealed this yesterday on Twitch. I'm going to reveal it here on Facebook and YouTube today, and that is the actual development. Thank you, baby, for putting it up in the comments. It is really good quality. Fantastic. How's the quality on Facebook? And I think there's also something of a delay. Hold on, let me get this down here. And let me see if I can make a quick adjustment here. I'm noticing Facebook is ahead by 30 seconds, but both are looking great. Fantastic. Yeah, Facebook historically has had this massive delay. I put YouTube in on on ultra low latency, kind of pushing it here just to see what would happen. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay. Oh, cool. Yay, that's looking good. Alrighty. So I do want to test the latency before I really reveal anything here, because again, this is like a first for me, using the new system, using the new setup, and other things like that. New face cam. I'm going to count down to 3. When I count down to 3, put F in chat, or not F in chat because no one's died. Say something in chat like now or something. Actually, yeah, you know what? Type out your name or your initials or some shit. I don't know, whatever. Either way, put something into the chat on both Facebook and on YouTube so I can see what the delay is. So I'm going to count this down. Let's see here. I have a clock somewhere. There we go. I have a clock. All right, so on the count of 3, 3, 2, 1, and then you're going to hit something. We're going to try out see what the latency on this is. You ready? In 3, 2, 1, go. All right, let's see what happens here and how long it takes for you guys to respond to something here. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Am I still streaming? 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Oh, dear God. 32, 33, 34. I don't think I'm streaming anymore. 35. I'm not saying. Now, wow. Yes. All right, so YouTube is behind by close to between 35 and 40 seconds. Wow. Okay, and I don't know how Facebook is at all. That might be like significantly behind. Alrighty. Anyway, as promised, the world of Evindale has seen a bunch of stuff, and if you guys have just been watching, if you are watching this on YouTube for the first time, you're seeing an actual live stream on this channel, then you probably haven't gone over to Twitch to see any of the world development stuff or anything like that. Totally cool. That platform is not for everyone, which is why I'm streaming here right now. So just give a little FYI, development streams do take place on Mondays and Tuesdays on Twitch, but I've been seriously thinking about branching out a little bit and start streaming on all 3 major services. Not on Twitch. Hi, Josh. How are you? Okay, you are on YouTube. Throrin. Yay! This is awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is not being streamed on Twitch right now. This is only being streamed on Facebook and YouTube. You see, as a Twitch affiliate, I'm not permitted to simultaneously stream on Twitch and any other service. They retain exclusivity, so you assign an exclusivity contract with them, which is why I'm not streaming there right now. But I did want to share some exciting developments that have taken place in the world of Evindale, particularly when it comes down to its development. There are a couple things that I've been kind of working on that I'm really excited about. And some of you may have already seen this. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty certain that some of you have already seen this. But I do want to just quickly get to the point without further ado. This is the new world of Evindale. This thing is massive. Now, the world of Evindale is comprised of three main continents on a single planet. There's honestly more continents than that. But when we're talking about actual development of stuff, this is just one continent. The continent that you were looking at here is known as Irande. Irande has been the same continent that I've been dreaming of developing, living in, breathing, eating, etc. for the past 38 or so years. Just recently, I'd say within the past year or so, I expanded it out to a full planet, and I decided I'm going to take one continent at a time, develop it, and then go from there. This main continent is done. After 38 years, it seems so weird to say that. And if you are watching this and you're an old-timer with the world of Evindale, then you also understand that there are new countries on here that you've never seen before. And here's what I mean. We've got our typical land of adventure here, all starting up with Ivary to the to the northwest, coming down to the Duchy of Kyria, the god state of, these horrible, horrible barren wastelands of Drethnak. Hold on, we need music, damn it. We need music. Let's get some new music in here. I have no idea what this sounds like, so let's see what this sounds like. Ooh, that's got some ambiance, doesn't it? I think that's got some ambiance. Hold on, let me get rid of the thingy down below. Let me expand this out some so y'all can see it a little bit better. Why not, right? Hold on. Let's get this, put this down here. There we go. Yeah, that's a lot better. Okay, cool. So, check this out. Let me give you guys the complete tour. This is going to oh man, well, let me just give you the whole tour. So, the world of Evindale as it has been the Grand Empire of Ivary. We have Sta'abri to its southeast, Drethnak to its south, and the Duchy of Kyria. This whole western portion is still going to be filled in before I release it out to the public, so this is considered as a sneak preview. We have the Eternal Wazati of Withtaril. This had been formerly known as Delaran, but I've also realized that I played World of Warcraft a lot early on, and I think Delaran and Delaran are way too similar, and so I decided, no, let me just change the name. And besides, Delaran was the Iverial word for the land of the elves. Well, Withtaril is their own name. Of course, then we also have the Isles of Evin down here, and coming all the way down to the southwest, and still considered part of this continent, or at least part of this world of adventure, are the island nations of Swarathra. Swarathra are the Firaf in Evindale, or Catfolk in other places. You may call them Tabaxi elsewhere. We come into the Kingdom of Agil and the Kingdom of Kurfa. All of this now on this massive map they all have country names and other things going on there. Hold on for 1 second. I'm noticing that you guys cannot see my cursor. Oh, it's supposed to be capturing the cursor. That's weird that it's not. 1 second. Let me see if I can fix this. Automatic? No, that's not it. That's not it. That's it. Okay, how about now? No? Oh, there we go. There's my cursor. All right, cool. So we now have country name, or excuse me, town names and other stuff like that. We're going to start seeing that all over the place. We move north into the Grand Archduchies of the High Empire of Tumbria. and come all the way up here. Here's Girdleberg right here. Josh's like, can I move to Girdberg and change my last name to Hubert Stubendurgen? Yes, you can. You absolutely can. And Josh, man, you've got the names down right. Joaquim, I love that you're watching this on Facebook. This is fantastic. So yeah, this is or actually, I just realized something. I believe your name is not pronounced Joaquim as it would be in English, but instead Joachim or Joachim. Is it Joachim? I love being able to pronounce people's names properly, so do correct me when you have the opportunity. Yeah, some feeling of a sea with a storm incoming. Absolutely. Girdleberg is actually pitched on a high cliff overlooking the sea here, and as well as the Eladon Bay. These are names that you've never seen before in Evindale. They have appeared on every single map that I've created, or excuse me, they've appeared on multiple maps I've created, but everything has never once appeared on every map. We also see here the city-state of the Kajikal Bazaar. This is mid to late 4th age, so that means that the bazaar now exists. If we continue up north here, you will finally see an updated map. This has been forever in the making, and I don't understand why I haven't done it. This is an updated map with all 16 of the major tribes, as well as some newer, like this little dude right here, Ice Bear, as well as some newer minor tribes that are all part of these larger tribes. Let's see, all coming around here. We're going to see on this map all of the town names, all the major city ports, every place that has ever seen adventure, and I still have notes on, and I have notes that do go back 38 years. We now finally come into the city-state of Amstrad with its 3 capitals, Strakia, Tucson, and Gelevok. We now come down into Mutvia, and as you can see here in Mutvia, we're already beginning to see so many of the principalities that exist here, and so many of them are right on top of each other. That's why it's called the Land of 1,000 Princes. There's a lot more principalities that need to get on here, and today I have a feeling that we're going to be adding some of that on here. We're also starting to see names of the rivers and the lakes and other places, the other waterways we've never seen before on a map, and some of these places are finally being given a name. So while there's already a lot on here, it's nowhere near done. But now we finally see the exact location of what might be considered the capital of Southern Coltrex, in this case, the tribal confederacies of Southern Coltrex. We begin to move down, and here we see the Duchy of Mala, and which is contained within the Imperial Kingdom of Malek. And if you notice this, destroying my map here, you may notice here this area is blank. That's because a new country is most likely going to go there to be a part of the Imperial Kingdom. This area of the map has never once received any real love. However, while making this particular map, I also decided that Tala should be its own independent state, but retain the concept of principality as opposed to king, queen, emperor, sultanate, caliphate, what have you. And I wanted to keep it that, but that's why its name is now officially the independent state of the Principality of Tala. Another thing that's probably going to happen here is that this lonely peninsula, I mean, this kind of looks like the Straits of Gibraltar. I can only imagine when I first did this when I was a teen, like a young kid, that I must have figured that into it. But either way, this is probably going to see a little bit, well, it's definitely going to receive a lot more love, but it's going to be, it might turn into its own country as well. And of course, we now see the sovereign kingdom of Krakferak. This was formerly known as the Spine, and colloquially is known as the Spine elsewhere, but the proper dwarven name of it is Krakferak. If you're not playing D&D or Pathfinder and you want to have adventures in this world, then it doesn't need to be a dwarf. As a matter of fact, the OSR version of this world that I'm now creating already has this as a as Earth-like people, akin to what you might call a dwarf, but the real ancestries and races of Evindale are just now being written about. And when I say real, I mean if I were to divorce myself from the very popular D20 games and just create this, this is what you'd see. By the way, I'm noticing that there's a lag between my camera and what I'm saying here. So 1 second. Okay, that usually fixes lag. There we go. Now we start entering into already established new stuff. While Sereshtash here is the capital of Karaktarak, we now come into this region here. This has historically also been a part of that kingdom of the Spine. But this is most likely going to become yet another country as the schisms of that empire really begin to manifest, and we begin to see new alliances, new treaties, new war between all these countries. Already established, however, is the Kingdom of Karak with its capital of Tor. You'll notice that Tor is not in a mountain. That's because these people are not necessarily dwarves, but they have broken apart. This all used to be part of the Spine. In fact, all of this, all the way up here, used to be part of the Spine as well. Yeah, no, the lag was on in between video and audio. It was on my side, so you definitely would have gotten it. Let's see here. Can I tell you what I love saying? Absolutely, Josh. The different political structures of this world feel organic, like the land of politics and the culture all feel real. I'm so happy that. Oh wow, I am so happy that you think that. Yes, yes, yes. All American call you by my Spanish name, by your Spanish name. Yeah, I imagine it's Joachim. Is that correct? Oh yes, that is right. Okay, so it is Joachim. Alrighty. Let's see. Göteborg looks like a great city for a string of murders to be investigated by 1700s empiricists. 100%, Josh. You're going to encounter that a lot. Matter of fact, when I go to write, you know what? I'm going to start taking notes now, because as you guys give me ideas of the kinds of things that you think of, I want to make sure that I toss those in there. So we are looking at Göteborg. I love that. I 100% love that. So murder mysteries. Yes. Murder mysteries. Okay, cool. Let's see. Let's go down. Hold on. Let's go down the way here. Okay. Water bottles. Move aside. I have more important things to do. Hold on. Okay. Notepad, go over here. Most efficient. Most curious. Okay. Here we go. So yeah, murder mysteries and other things like that would definitely take place. If you're looking for a rural adventure or an urban adventure, Göteborg and Coltrex and Avar and Pundesh and Malamahachmadad are definitely your go-tos. Even to some degree, Dregensoy within Mutvia, which is this giant dormant volcano here that has yet to be labeled. So this is still a little bit of work to be done here. So let's continue. Joachim is saying, would be so cool to play in this world as soon my garden watch is over. Yay! I'm hoping once the map goes out, it's going to be released on Zazzle as a large vinyl map. If you guys haven't yet seen the large Mutvia map that's already out there, we're not talking this. This is incredibly low resolution compared to the Mutvia map. The Mutvia map is huge. If anybody here wants to see it, I have it right there. I'll unfurl it. It's almost as tall as I am. It's immense, and it is so detailed. This is going to be of the same quality, but probably released just a little bit smaller. Make it more... Well, one, more affordable. The Mutvia map is going to go up in price, and this is going to be, it's going to be reasonable, but we're looking at a map that already is about 3 feet or a little over a meter wide. So it's pretty big. Yeah, most curious. Yeah, was the Cross Sea created by meteor impact? Let's take a look at that. No, it was not created by meteor impact, though you would think that given the round shape in this area. What has actually happened here is that you have the Ashcan Empire and Kedik Steel high mountain regions, and then these regions here as well. This area, you'll notice, and I'll start getting into some of these new countries in a second. This area here has a massive ring of mountains and then a lake that eventually evolved into a river coming down here. I haven't yet figured out the geological history of it, but I do like the world of Evindale to comply to the laws of physics. So that will probably happen at some point, but right now it's a little bit beyond what I'm willing to get into, unless there is some historical significance to it on the lore level. So we'll get to that in a second. But first, let's finish up our tour. So yeah, so the first of the new countries that we see here is the Kingdom of Coltrex City. Who they are, what's happening there, we're going to write up on that. You will see that in the write-up. Also added into this, albeit a little while ago, is the Amber Woods. This is a unique feature to southern Coltrex. This wood is insanely hard. You might want to consider it more akin to ironwood, and it is protected by southern Coltrex, so people can't exactly go in there and harvest it. So they allow it to grow wildly. Not only that, but it is actually amber colored. So when you stand in there in the middle of the sunlight and see that golden light streaming down in between the canopies of trees, it's rather beautiful. Laurel of Handmade by Laurel NY in the production of her Sense of Evindale candle series created Amber Woods, and holy shit, am I allowed to curse? Oh well. Anyway, and it's just absolutely amazing. Okay, here we have Coltrex City. The internal imperial state of Coltrex. Now, here's where we really start introducing some change when it comes down to the world of Evindale. First off, Coltrex has formerly. Let me do something here really quick. 1 second. Do this, and this. Okay. Coltrex formerly was this entire landmass here, coming all of this, right? This was massive. This thing was huge. And all of the people, like 1.75 million people, are in this city. So for the first time, I decided, with a little bit of reason and some care, start creating some history of this place and started creating brand new countries. The first of which here is the Empire of Upper Coltrex, with its capital of Tirash Hall. I'm not used to pronouncing some of these names yet, so forgive me as I stumble over them. This river will also be named. We're going to find out a little bit more about that in the supplement, which will come out. We also have here the Kingdom of Drethnak. The Kingdom of Drethnak I had wanted to be akin to Tumbria and have some Tumbrian origins in it, and hence its capital of Bregan up on the river there. So Tumbria, as we can see, is quite some ways away. Well, I figured that they probably would have sent out settlers or something along those lines and start investigating what else is in other places. And so Drethnak had been settled by the Tumbrians, however, eventually broke off and became its own kingdom. Let us continue going down to the southwest. Formerly, this peninsula was known as the lands of Lockfell, or the home of the Tengu. No more. It is now the Grand Empire of Ashkan, with its capital of Rostin. What exactly is here? Well, I don't want to continue to say. There, some of this I will divulge what's there, particularly in the next country that we'll go over, or in 2 countries from now that we'll go over. But I'm not yet certain. I know several things in there, but I want to firm it up before I begin locking myself into something. Then we do have Lockfell. Now, again, formerly this was known as the Lands of Lockfell. Not any longer. They have finally become their own republic. They have their own government, and they are a strong trading island nation. This is all Tengu. You may know them as Kenku in other game systems or what have you, or anthropomorphic ravens or birds or what have you. You will also find other bird-like races here, and particularly in the capital of Skragdungan. And the supplement will go into that to some degree. Now let's head north. We're going to come back north of the Kingdom of Drethnak, and now we're going to enter into an area which I happen to love. It is fated on purpose. This is the lost eternocracy of Dread. This entire place might be considered a government unto itself, and yet the living wouldn't exactly consider it that. If it weren't for the fact that things don't want you there and make themselves known, chances are other people would have settled in. And it's because of the high increase of spiritual activity in this area that some consider this the lands of the dead on the planet. So we'll have to see. All right. It does feel like the forest of South Turkey. As a matter of fact, it's funny that you say that, Josh, because Coltrex, let me go into here. If you were to take a look at this historically, and I mean real world history, hold on, let me move this here. If you were to take a look at it, as things were being developed, what I wanted to happen was kind of have this this notion that the majority of this fantasy world was overrun, or not overrun. Overrun is that's a perspective. The vast majority of this planet was inhabited by creatures that weren't necessarily anything that we consider to be the races. I have a mustache hair that's going up my nose, and it's going to drive me crazy. We wouldn't consider them playable races in D&D or what have you. And this world was created in the shadow of Dungeons and Dragons. And so much of this was developed with those things in mind, with elves and dwarves and humans and halflings and gnomes and this, that, and the other thing. Well, as the world began being developed, and as I moved into other game systems and began to develop for Pathfinder, I began to realize that I don't want it that way. I want it where there are creatures that are just as intelligent and just as capable of governance, just as capable of civilization and having a culture and trading with other nations. And so I wanted this to be a real living, breathing world of evolving species, not just species created by deity or what have you. Well, the country of Coltrex is one such place that actually illustrates the concept of colonialism in a way. Let me tell you what I mean. And then, and I will hit upon Turkey in a second, the real world country of Turkey. Ivri, let me go back to the map here so you see what I'm talking about. Ivri, all the way to the west, had sent out a long time ago, and you can imagine how easy it was for them to do this. Towards the Third Age, they began to send people out. They came across here the inner North Sea, came up into Dragon Bay, traveled down this river, and then noticed that this is a nice little quiet inland sea, the Gelahin Sea. And they settled into the country of Coltrex. They also branched out into this area over here, known as the Slendery Kingdom, and the Slenderies properly handed them their asses, and they kind of went back, and Coltrex City is probably the most besieged city of them all. And so the city itself began to gain an evolution. The being that its skin, if you will, its walls became thicker and thicker. And so the city is now a massive ring of concentric walls with a center, kind of off-center, a little bit up to the northwest of center, imperial district. They also turned it into a theocracy. And in order to maintain the power of religion over people, they need to keep everyone close. So the city started branching out, and they started relaxing some laws and allowing people of multiple faiths, of any faith really, to come in, turning it into a real theocracy in the sense that it's not a kingdom of a particular religion, unless you take a look at the imperial premier, whoever it is that's running it at the time. Whatever faith they are becomes the state religion. Well, over them is the emperor. The emperor's been there forever. The emperor doesn't go away. It's the premier that changes. And so the premier institutes the new rules, etc. But by this time, Coltrex was already well on its way of becoming a city of 1.75 million people. Now, this is unusual considering how much land they have. For a long time there, many of these plains, particularly the Fortnite plains, this is the first time you're going to see that name on this map because it's existed on only the original map that I developed back in the 80s, and just yesterday I put it there. Coltrex kind of stayed within the city. They got resources and whatever they needed from nearby mountains. They did some clear cutting around it, which is why you don't see any woods around here, because all that wood was used to construct timbers and frames, or timber framing and what have you. And then they continued to go out over here and clear cut in some of the plains, which is why these are now plains. The mountains were a little bit more difficult for them to get lumber down, and there was only one river coming down in this way. Most other rivers go straight into the sea. So from here, they can float the lumber down the river and in towards the city. With all the efforts being put onto the city, they simply built it up and made it into a huge home. However, there was another reason for that. All of the other civilizations out here to the west had forced all of the creatures to go to the east. And that is why you now have, in some of these other reaches, non-humanoid or non-playable race countries. But as I begin to develop this for different game systems, such as 5e or Pathfinder 2e, or even the own True to the World OSR system, Evindale, or whatever it ends up being called, you're going to start seeing them become playable races in this world as well. I want the feeling that there are so many different cultures that, culturally speaking, there should be differences enough to create conflict. That should 100% exist. I don't want a happy-go-lucky world where everyone loves each other. Beautiful, but that's a world of hope punk. This is dark fantasy. So let's go over here. A lot of the creatures that ended up leaving the main continent elsewhere started coming into this area, into Coltrex, or what they would call Coltrex, what these people would call it. They didn't have to evict anybody in order to set up the city. They did lay claim to an awful lot of land, but over the course of time, they realized that they couldn't hold on to it. By that time, others had started settling back in, and now towards the end of the Fourth Age, we start seeing a massive conflict of all of those creatures who eons ago had been pushed back. Well, they too have evolved, my friends, and they are going to start coming back in here, turning Coltrex into contested territory. The first of which is the Empire of Upper Coltrex. This was most likely, given its name, was most likely a place of expansion out of Coltrex City and an attempt to hold on to it. But where does Turkey and all that come from? Well, Ivori, when I first started creating this, I kind of, I was like maybe 14 years old. And I had this notion of an Anglo-Saxon Tolkien-esque type of thing. And Ivori, for the most part, has kind of remained that, although it has changed over the course of time. I wanted them to be able to settle in here, knowing only what I knew. As an American, we're taught a lot about colonialism, because that's kind of how we got our country. Unfortunately, at the expense of those who lived here prior. So I kind of wanted to tell that story, but I didn't want to displace anybody. So they settled into this nice little pocket of the world. Well, I also wanted some of the flavors of this area to begin impacting Coltrex. So what do we see? Down here, this was, in my head, what was to be called Southern Coltrex was actually the original Coltrex. It became Coltrex after the horrible thing that they did, in this case, was co-opt the name. That was about it. They settled into an unsettled area. And Southern Coltrex, for the most part, stayed down here. A lot of the flavor here is in Turkey. You're going to see, from the cuisines to some of the tribal aspects of the more rural areas, you're going to see that within Southern Coltrex. But again, so much time has passed since the original development that it has kind of become its own thing. In this case, the people who live in Southern Coltrex are, by and large, tier folk. Tier folk are kind of like halflings, except they're extremely stout. They're kind of a cross between a halfling and a dwarf. So while they are of shorter stature than a human, let's say, they are usually more powerful than a human, and they travel in trains or caravans, if you will. And they are known to just, quite frankly, they're bandits for the most part, but they do have a rich and complex history. They are absolutely a plains people, and they are 100% nomadic, hence tribal confederacies. They don't have necessarily a single leader, even though I believe one is listed up on the website. Instead, they have tribal heads, and they all come together into a council, hence tribal confederacy within the country of Takala. And in that case, it's not like Turkey. And yet, if we come north, we begin to see something that might be considered a Istanbul/Constantinople, whichever one you want to call it, in Coltrex itself. And that's where the religiosity, that religiosity really was introduced into the city because of that influence in my youth, learning a little bit about history. So yes, actually, you are correct. Its origins are in Turkey and the Eastern Mediterranean region of our world. Okay, we now come up into this kingdom up here, the kingdom of Torskal, with Yurden Olek being its low-lying capital here. I have some ideas about Torskal, and I have a feeling it has more to do with what lies to the north of it than what lies to the south of it, but we'll see that in a little bit. In the meantime, I can tell you what is over here. The kingdom of Gotaland, I had wanted to be established. I wanted this to be ancient. I wanted this to be one of those kingdoms like, holy crap, I didn't even know we shared the same friggin' landmass. Who are you? They are impressive. This is a highly civilized, civilized in their own right, a highly cultured, extremely well-established kingdom. And they, along with, let me come down, along with this, the tribal kingdom of Brakten, with Guttenhold being their capital, these two countries do have an alliance which forms a massive, this is a massive area. They are not afraid of war at all, but I would not call them a warlike people. They tend to live with nature a little bit better than what you might consider a bunch of city dwellers in a dark fantasy world elsewhere. And the tribal kingdom should also give you an idea of the kind of government that there is there. It is broken down into tribes in that there are multiple family units that come together to form a tribe. And while they are, that's about that's where the similarity between they and Southern Coltrex ends. This is an actual kingdom. They have united all of their tribes under one kingdom in order to gain some strength in the area. They then joined forces with the kingdom of Gotaland, and so we have a massive alliance of people that can hold the powers to the south and to the east at bay if needed. Meanwhile, over to the west, we have, of course, the Tribal State Council of Nudriu. Nudriu is an old country. It's been, world development-wise, it's been with us forever and a day. This hasn't changed. So we have some massive changes, we have some massive development that's going to start taking place in Nudriu, which hasn't seen a lot of love. But Nudriu is no longer the northernmost country. When I laid this out on a globe, and then somebody, a fan of my work, created a print. You all know them on Twitch as Space Viking 42, and he's now a player on the Friday night OSR games. He then took my sphere of a world and put it into a graphic that he created, and he illustrated the two moons. He did such a beautiful job. Well, if you take a look at this on a globe, you'll realize Nudriu is about where, south to mid Norway would be. All right, the north reaches of it aren't even in the Arctic Circle. That's why we now have the Theocratic kingdom of Irande. Irande is awful. I can't say more because I haven't yet fully developed it. Their capital is way inland, right at the foot of some mountains. These are snow-covered mountains, and Urhold is just the worst. You want to talk about dark fantasy? This is where you're going to start really seeing it. Now, in the past, we've had Mutvia, but wait, friends, we haven't even gone over the rest of this yet. The Theocratic Kingdom of Irande, the Lost Eternocracy of Dread, those are two places that we've seen so far that are really kind of, we're going to start getting into some stuff here. The Theocratic Kingdom of Irande is all about life and death. I can tell you that right now. They are surviving the best that they possibly can. You can kind of consider this in terms of climate akin to Iceland in that, Iceland was deforested by the people that came to live there when they were settled in by the Scandinavian people. It was eventually deforested, and it's really only it's only really now in modern years that we see any kind of trees. I wanted to borrow that and the climate from a country I know fairly well.
And here in Iceland, in Irande, you are going to have a like a stream of warm air that comes up into this area. Will warm this up. It keeps the winter snows at bay, keeps the northern snows at bay. All of this region here also has labels which have yet to be applied, but it will. Irande is all about life and death, about survival. They do not understand people who live in cities. They just don't. It's just culturally, it's not that they are incapable of it. They just don't get it. Why would you do that when you can firmly, have your life constantly be tested by everything? And so you know what? I think I'm going to say this right now. The second age of Evindale, I've always said, was a sword and sandal, kind of Conan-esque, mixed with an Elric of Melniboné from the Michael Moorcock series. Irande, I wanted it to be a real sword and sandal, furs and broad weapons. If you want that kind of hard living against gods and creatures of ancient lore and history, this is the place for you. And by calling it the Theocratic Kingdom, right there should tell you that there is a tyrannical leader who believes that they are a god. Right here is that's where you're going to see. Meanwhile, out to the east, we have the territories of the Zakrog giants, or Zakrog. I just made these names up. I don't know. And we're going. This is where the giants went. They got sick and tired of being picked off by these puny little creatures. They said, "F it, we're going to move north," and they ended up doing so. And so did the people that make up the Confederation of the Cathori. This is a. You're looking at a. This is also a kind of a plains people, but I also admit I'm not too sure whether I want to add more trees in this or not. I understand that this is mainly a tundra or a taiga kind of atmosphere with some low-lying alpine-like trees in the mountains. I also wanted this to be a little bit more of a wintry feel, blustering winds sweeping across plains. What is their life like? Well, these are things that I'm that I will expand on in the upcoming supplement. Coming down here, finally, in the risen marsh kingdom of Sirsarish Kill, the lizard folk finally get their own home. I am so happy about this. I absolutely love it. And to give you a little sneak peek as to what they might be involved in, we have some pirate-like stuff over here, including a sunken ship and some other things, just to give you guys an idea as to what's here. But if you take a look, you'll also notice that there's kind of some ruins and stuff in here. That's because none of this is new, and there have been ancient cultures and civilizations that existed here. And others continue to build on top. I wanted so much of this to be like a living, breathing history. And so in Shakala, you do have its capital. We continue now south into the free nation of Tirfol Breg with its capital, Thicket Home. I love this place. If you're going to talk hope punk flavor of a little bit on the gentle side, this might be it. They call themselves the Free Nation because they come from an oppressed people and they're tired of being under the oppression of others. They finally established, along with the Kingdom of Gotalon helping them, they finally established some of their own freedom and got their own country. But who is it that lives here? The Furbolg. So many people love the Furbolg. Well, they are now here in Evindale, and they never have been in the past. And this is their home in Thicket Home. It almost makes me want to cry. But they're not exactly the same as the Furbolg of D&D. Instead, you're going to see something a little bit different. They are the Furbolg as we understand them to be out of Irish myth and legend. They're awful. They're horrible. But they've been oppressed, and they do have a soft side. So we'll get into that more when I begin to write up that race for Evindale. Continuing over here, we do have the Zoreli Riders. They're not riders of horses. That's as much as I can say right now. And their kingdom is in the middle of the friggin' plains. Doroskel. This one is going to be fun, considering exactly how large this entire country is. I am so much loving this right now. But I don't want to get too much into it. But I can tell you that all of these countries do have a culture in my head. I'll be talking about it more in upcoming development videos, but we'll get to that in a moment. Let's see here. coming down here. Oh, domain of the Creel Gulal. Who are the Creel Gulal? We don't exactly know. But if you've been watching Crossroads, we'll leave it at that. Its pseudo-capital of Drakal is really just this wicked fortress of a giant's head with a little bit of an opening underneath it. Oh, and in order to get to it, you either have to fly over, good luck, or go through these absolutely heinous sulfurous swamps. Well, we'll find out. Josh, I can tell you right now that they do not ride giant centipedes or beetles. They fly. So, Creel Gulal is an evil place. It is freaking evil. The winds don't want to come in here, so here we see plenty of rain shadow that has resulted in deserts. We see here something more akin to if you look up the Ethiopian sulfur pits, you'll see what I mean. A large area that just makes this place absolutely stink, and the Tearful Breg have to deal with that. Let's go south a little bit, and now we come into the exalted imperial nation of Sekrehedeth. This is the only guy, listen to this effort. This is this guy, Sekrehedeth. That's his name. It's the nation of one guy. I mean, he kind of lives with other people, if you want to call them people. This is a lich. This is where the liches went. When everyone was getting sick and tired of having liches around, this is where they went. This is a home of liches. This is awful. Why would you want to be here? Well, I mean, maybe you like serving underneath eternal evil? I mean, I don't know, but I'm sure that the supplement is going to get into that at some point. Alrighty, let's see. We stand Furbo. I'm going to start getting into your comments over here in a moment. We finally come, or not finally, because we're not yet done. Oh my goodness, there's still more. The Federated City-States of Lich Deep. We're going to start seeing here some breakdown into city-states, individual cities that exist all throughout this area. And those are going to form into a single federation of Lich Deep, the capital of which is considered to be Fellendrift, because this is where the majority of trade will take place. There's also going to be another major city over here, and I'm gonna get all these things in here too. I'm kind of excited about Lich Deep because it is a darker, grittier version of even, let's say, Coltrex, which I would consider your typical medieval city where there's crap and fluids flowing down the city streets, even though Coltrex has a massive sewer system. This place won't have a sewer system. These places probably won't have sewer systems. So you are looking at a dark and gritty, disease-ridden land. And one of the things I love about Lich Deep is I can guarantee it, you're going to start getting old Greyhawk vibe off of this. You're going to start getting some Farfid and the Grey Mauser feel from this. You're going to be looking at cities that offer you urban adventures, plenty of crime, etc. I wouldn't put this on an alignment scale. If I did, I think all the varied alignments would probably come out to to neutral. But there is corruption in these city-states, and it's going to be, it's just going to be, it's got feel, it's got vibe, it's got darkness and dark clouds hanging above, and even then the sun may not reach over may not reach down into the alleys here. So I think Lich Deep is going to be the home of urban adventures, while directly to the north of it, you're going to find some evil adventures. So even if I were to just develop this area here, you're going to see something that's going to be awful. Speaking of waterways that have been created by by meteor impacts, this was one of them, 100%. Coming over here to the kingdom of Ashia with its capital of Darimi. This is a country known to produce bards. It's all high mountains and other things. You can imagine this to have a Indonesian and Hawaiian, and a little bit of like a Hawaii vibe unique in this. It has a bardic college that rivals that of Pundesh's, which has been up to now the only real bardic college around. Of course, other cities have them, but the bardic college, it would be like Oxford University in Evindale. Well, the Kingdom of Ischia produces bards, and their main export is music and culture. I would say in the future, probably in the 6th and 7th age, well, maybe not, early 7th age, you're looking at their main trade being tourism, simply because of the beauty of the place, and probably the establishment of fast food. Coming up here, finally we come up to the Republic of Ziopalom, along with its Midland capital of Opom. I wanted this to be... I wanted this to have a, if I were to take, let's say, take spices and incense, put them here, it's not jungle. I wouldn't want to say that this is like the Indian subcontinent. We don't have too many similarities, but in here you're going to see a fervent religious people. Their country is large enough due to war and the annexing of various lands around them, but all of that is very much in their history. I'm not too sure where I'm going to go with it, but one of the things I do like about it is there is a huge significance with a trading partner all the way down here in Ischia. They do have a fantastic relationship with those in Shader's Kill, and they do have a navy given all this area. You're also going to find some waterborne people right around in here. I'm going to find some aquatic races as well. I have some ideas regarding this, but I'm not yet resolved, and that's why I seem hesitant to really talk about it. But to the north of it, oh man, I am so happy with this. This one is the Umbral Kingdom of Deathglom. Aaron, I typed out this name, and I was kind of like, yeah, okay, so the Heglom, Heglom, Halom, and then she comes, Erin then comes over here, and they're standing here, and they're like, oh, Deathgloom, I love that name, and I'm like, oh hell, yeah, you're right. So Erin is the one to take credit for the pronunciation of a Deathgloom. I love it. The Umbral Kingdom of Deathglom might be said to be the only place where the Umbra actually has its own physical presence here. Typically, the Umbra, also known as the Shadow Planes in other game systems, the Umbra typically overlays the whatchamacallit? Overlays the prime material plane. In this case, it's actually there. You can walk right into it and encounter everything that's in here. That is going to be a pretty cool source of adventure. And up here, you're going to see some tribal nations as well. And this area here is incredibly deadly. These northern winds, which are not permitted to come through because of these vast mountain ranges. Look at the size of these mountains here as compared to, let's say, the rest of Edenal. Look at the size of these mountains. You just don't want to be here. Look at the spine itself. Look at the size of these mountains as compared to these. So these are incredibly huge mountains, and because of that, northern winds just cannot get past them, and instead the winter blows down through here and creates an incredibly deadly valley of incredibly high-speed winds that you're going to have to get through if you want to visit anything here in the north. Once you start getting here in this region, it's not bad, still blustery, but you're also going to find some ice-based adventures and other things in this area in here, as well as these little valleys and other places, little hidey holes all throughout this area. There is a northern lake that does stay liquid for some reason. We're going to have to find out why when I write it. And let me see. I believe that is everything. Yeah, I believe that's everything. So that's where we are so far when it comes down to the world of Evindale and everything that it has that's been leading up to this point. I'm going to go over your chat in a second. See what's there. Let me just grab some water. But really curious what you guys think of this so far. If you happen to be on Facebook, I'm able to read all of your stuff. If you happen to be up on YouTube, I can read everything here too. Cool. All right, let me go through this. I'm going to be going all the way up, literal world building. Yeah, Josh, I know this was a long time ago that you typed this out, but just now getting to it like an hour later. Okay, Josh, I still love the concept of your name. Hubert Stubenbergen. Yes, 100%, man. You're going to love that. By the way, this finally, speaking of Tumbria, this finally got a little bit of love. Let me get over here. This, Landesstut Castle, the Black Keep, the home of the Anshesa. This is a prison that Tumbria has where criminals from all over can be sent here to be reformed as one who becomes on the path of the Anshesa. And if you don't know what the Anshesa are, they are a religious sect. They claim to lose their identity because now they serve the powers of death, and in death all things are equal. So they let me get back here. So you are reformed in the way, or more to the point, you are educated about how life actually works, and then finally, when you become an Anshesa after many years of training, you finally go out there into the world and begin to attack those things that use death for incredibly selfish purposes. And they all wear a black stoic mask. It has no emotion to it whatsoever, just like death. They're kind of freaky. I kind of like them. I kind of want a plushie. All right, let's see what else we have here. Let's see. Great city of a string of murders. You know, I just wrote that down. Well, I already wrote that down. I'm so happy with that. Josh, and thank you so much for that. The land, the politics, and all the culture, all for real. I really appreciate that. Like a lot of authors just make kingdoms, no diversity in a ruling structure. I don't know. I mean, if we take a look at Middle Earth, we're going to see some differences there. But I really appreciate your comment. I'm unfortunately not very well versed in the writings of other people. I've spent so much of my time with my head buried in here. I think, I don't know. I don't know. All I know is that Evindale kind of lived and breathed in my head for a long time, and so much of it came about because of the adventures of the people who went through it. And once the map is released, then we're going to see the supplement, and then both will be re-released as a single package up on DriveThruRPG, Evindale.com, and I think DriveThruRPG is I think it's an exclusive deal. I have to take a look again. They may have exclusive distribution. I'm not certain. But yeah, this map will be available within the next 2 weeks up on Zazzle. That's what I'm doing today. I'm getting done, and then I'm going to work on tonight's adventure some. I already did vast majority of the work, but now I want to stitch some stuff together because the stuff that's going to happen tonight, boy, oh man, I'm Gred Ghoul the Dreaded. They're finally facing another Atalti. How many people are watching? So we currently have 2 people watching. Give me a shout out. Let me know who you are. Because if you have been watching Crossroads, I'm going to let you in on some little secrets. Okay, let me continue going here. You assume that a normal mouse range was created by a plate sliding above another. Subduction or oh god, I forget what that's called. The enormous mountain range. You're talking which one? The spine? Is that what you're referring to? If so, not really. The enormous mountain range all the way down to or unless you're talking about Ashkan. Ashkan, yeah. There's if you take a look at the, you know what? Let me go back to the map for a second. If you take a look at this here, you'll see that the mountains here in Ashkan and come all the way up, they pretty much hit this whole region here. Yeah, this area here, all of this is one continent that came slamming into this one. So this is exactly that. This would be the same as the Himalayas. It's kind of settled, and in a way, it's also beginning to separate again a little bit. I don't have too much tectonic plate movement, but you'll see some of that separation through like this. So this might be considered like an Iceland. This might be Thingvellir, where it's really stretching between Europe and North America. It's kind of pulling apart. Let's see here. You assume that the enormous mountain range. Okay, it's just an enormous basin. Bet they have good caviar in those cold waters. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, the salmon around here are going to be absolutely amazing. Oh no, hold on. Sturgeon. Pardon me. Hot springs to the north of Kedik, I suppose. Let me get back over to Kedik. Yeah, I could see that. But this, just so that you know, the equator is right around here, and hence these deserts, these desert-like regions that come through this area. This is equatorial regions. So take a look at this. This is like Southern Europe. This is nothing. This is nice and warm. This is your Mediterranean region right around in here. That's probably why this kind of looks a little bit like Italy and Sicily. I mean, I wasn't very original as a kid, I can imagine. You know, I mean, take a look at this. This kind of looks like the Iberian Peninsula, you know? I mean, and very obviously a Scandinavia type of thing, but over the course of time, I ended up changing it significantly. But yeah. All right. Anyway, all right, let's go. Let's see. I love Coltrex. This feels like the flowers of South Turkey. You may call them birds. Is this where Gredgul comes from? It's Gredgul is GRED''GHUL. I could say no. I'm not too sure where you're referring to, but I think that was said at a time that I was going through through some of the new stuff, like over there. Gredgul does not come from... Well, it depends on where you're talking about. I don't want to go over that. Okay. Which country would have, like, a hedge knight? Hedge knights. I'm trying to think what a hedge knight is. Hold on, let me look that one up. I kind of have an idea as to what it might be. Oh, hedge knights. That's from Ice and Fire. Strive to be chivalrous. True knights, hedge knights are often mistrusted and considered disreputable. The term hedge knight is considered disparaging. Okay. That's a really good question. I don't know if... I have not thought of anything... I don't think on that level just yet when creating a new country. The first thing that comes along is the terrain. The second thing that comes along is who else is living there. Like, what are the living creatures? What are the biomes there that give support to that kind of life? From there, it goes into settler mindset and ecology and begins breaking down as to what is possible in that area. Then, owing to local resources, what kind of culture will come about. Then from there, settlements start coming into fray. And the settlement could be a cave of goblins. It could be a mountain of giants. It could be anything, a city of humans. And then from there come the people who live in that city. But the city, I mean, at that point, history, climate, ecology, and the surrounding beings, surrounding flora and fauna, will also determine what kind of city it is, as well as the people. So those two kind of go hand in hand at that level, and things really start getting squirrely. I'm not too certain what would have a hedge knight, and I'm not going to lock myself into anything, but I would say that if there were anything that were to have that, you're probably looking at the Kingdom of Gotaland. And it would not be disparaging, but Gotaland is very well established, and so is Brakden. I would say that they are probably the most suited for a roaming bands of a martial people, and some coming out and kind of truly seeking that life, but not having any real formal training. Let's see. Yeah, Istanbul syndrome. Yeah, Josh, it's kind of a thing. Let's see. You jumped over to Facebook. Cool. How's the stream on these two services? How is it now? Is it still solid? If I would be like a hedge knight where I be in this world, yeah, I would say that you are. Irande is designed for xenophobia, 100%, Josh, 100%. Man, you nailed that. Oh yeah. Oh, here you go. What if the Karithi live in the Kothiri? What if the Kothiri live in large trees that grow seldom, looming over the plain? That's a possibility, but I have other ideas. Quite frankly, I think where are they? Where are my Kothiri? Here we are. There's some possibility here. It is definitely a marshland. I mean, take a look at the little symbols here. This is definitely, it's a plains taiga type of thing. I want to take a look at some stuff. And honestly, this is not to, this is going to be awful, but I have a feeling that they are probably going to have some reindeer there, but they may be flying reindeer. And I'm not saying that this is where St. Nicholas or Santa Claus comes from. I'm just saying. This is the most likely place for such things. Alrighty. We stand for Furbo. Must be a sea of ice and glacier beyond those mountains. Oh, Josh, it's just the region over here is just going to be horrific. You're looking at the top of the map is the North Pole. So this is a liquid lake in that region should tell you something of what the kind of stuff that might live there. And I can tell you it's not too far of a stretch to think that Remoras or Rehormos, the giant beings that tend to live in Arctic areas, but exude vast amounts of heat. We do know that Nudvriyu uses them as mounts, particularly in this region here. But yeah. Okay, let's see what else we have here. A lot of stuff got added. Oh yeah, Robin. Yeah, you need to see this in the wiki. So behind the scenes, Dave has been receiving some maps as I've been developing stuff. And I don't know what he's done with it, but we'll see. And so the Enchase are like Jean Shinto Dr. Warriors. That's amazing. Yeah, that is, Josh. Yeah, that is the Enchase do. That's not their origin. They didn't come from. In other words, I didn't receive influence by that. But in a way, yes. In a way, yeah. I think Evindale is finally like I'll be very frank with you. If anybody saw my last tweet, and if you guys have heard me talk about this, I created Evindale because I didn't have a place where I belonged as a teen. And growing up, I was always somebody who continued to develop communities, or like when Mutvia was created, it was like in the early 90s. I had a company, and I was a vice president of it, and it was like, I was in charge of certain major aspects of the company, and I wasn't ever one of the people. And so much of this is just completely heartfelt, that I think a lot of it was developed just due to whatever emotional state I had over the course of like the past 4 decades. And it's I'm looking at this now, and for the very first time I can say I am exceedingly proud of what I see. I've never had anything like this, a sense of completion. So I really appreciate everything that you're saying. I think Evindale is probably the most personal project I've worked on, and certainly it's eaten up the majority of my life. There's a lot of love that went into this, and it really does kind of stand on its own. I'm finally beginning to see new countries and new places and new ideas and things that just have made that finally made it, because I released myself, and this is the most recent development, is that as an author, I released myself from the concept of D20 games. I said, I don't want to deal with that anymore. I don't want to be constrained by their magic system or their creatures. I want to create something that is purely Evindale. What would that look like? And the moment I adopted that philosophy, all of this ended up coming out. And that's why in the span of a single day, all of these countries were added. And it took 2 weeks to get to that point after that epiphany. But while I'm doing that, I'm beginning to realize all the love that I had poured into so much of this. I mean, Landerstutt Castle, the Anshesa, that came about because of the LARP that I ran, the Mutvia LARP in 2016 to 2018. That was developed during that time as a matter of necessity. Once again, I created a game system for my world. I didn't create the world for a game system. And so much of this was created for D&D that I kind of kept that way, and now I feel freer. And it's nice. I don't get me wrong, I love those systems. I play Pathfinder 2nd Ed. I mean, you guys know that. Hell, we'll be playing Pathfinder tonight in about 6 hours. And I love it. Out of all the published D20 systems, I like that the most. But the Friday night game and the freestyle, we're going to start seeing that 7th Age game take place, when we should have one this Friday. The hurricane damaged some stuff, so I may have to be there on Friday instead of a game. I don't know. I'm going to see what people are able to do for the village this upcoming Friday. But if I don't need to be there, then we will absolutely have another game on Friday. And if so, we're going to start seeing a little bit more development of the 7th Age. But that's also acting as a playtest for Evandark, or whatever. That's the working title of the system. I quite frankly don't like the name Evandark. I kind of want it to be something else. But I want the game system to then... I would love to see a true dark fantasy adventure take place just using that kind of free-form system where gloom and hope are constantly competing with each other. Oh, love that. All right, I know it was written differently, but the Country of Dread, I know. And it's not even a real country. It's like... So this is, think about this for a second, man. In this world, you have multiple planes of existence, and I've always said that those planes kind of intersect with ours, or with this one, this material plane, in different ways, but D20 systems don't necessarily. I mean, you can always just create a spell, or you can just say, screw it, I'm going to do whatever I want, and then you end up changing the rules to fit your setting and story, and that's 100% acceptable. I love that people do that. I absolutely love that. For me, in my brain, I get a structure in my head, and I have to lock onto it, right? It becomes unchanging, and then I become a fan of that system, like Paizo's Pathfinder. Everyone knows I like that. But once I started to just think outside the box, I began to think, how would incorporeal people or things interact with this world? And what does this world's physical nature, or how does this world's physical nature impact their world? Is there anything here? And I finally said yes. And that's why you have the Lost Eternocracy, as well as all the way up here, Deathglum. These are two places that are in the physical world, but by all rights shouldn't be. And so what is a country of spirits to those who are corporeal? What does that look like? I'm very much looking forward to writing up things about those things. All right, what else you got here? You guys are asking so many good questions. I love it. Don't think you're counted in the viewers here. Yeah, I know. It says like 3 viewers. I don't know how many people are actually watching. Quite frankly, I'm not paying attention to how many people. I'm concentrating on whether or not you are, whether or not you guys are chatting. If you're up on Facebook, I absolutely want to hear from you. 100%. The spine is so close to an ocean, wondering if it's a subsistence. Oh, so the spine. Let me come down here. Here's a little something for you. I can zoom out and you'll begin to appreciate this a little bit. I recently found out that another author calls the spine of the world has been the term I've had for a very long time, but I don't claim it's original. I mean, somebody else also uses it, which is ultimately why I called it Coltrex to make it mine. But it is said to be a spine because in this world, people can fly, right? And so when you go all the way up because you kind of want to see what your home looks like and you have that ability or have a friend you can, on whom you can hitch a ride, and you go all the way up, unlike our past where no one could fly for a very long time, and they named things based off of what they could see with their own eyes at ground level. I decided, you know what, screw it. I'm going to call it a spine because at some point in history, somebody noticed that this area right here, you can't even really see it, kind of looks like a dragon's head landed here and created this depression. A lower jaw, an upper jaw, and extends out here in what appears to be an eye hole. And this could be like the orbital socket. And this was bones of the spine or the rear of the head now coming down. And this was the spine of the neck. And so that's how it got its name. A knight errant, apparently, yeah. Yeah, knight errant. Oh, you would absolutely see them. Sparkly, Robin, you're gonna see them in... You'll definitely see them in Drethnak. But also in Gotalan. I can almost guarantee that you're going to see them in here. As a matter of fact, you're probably going to see a lot more corruption in Brakten, Gotaland, and in Lich Deep. The things surrounding them that, I mean, you've got Sekrehedeth, Kriel Galan, Sedish Shakil, which is not necessarily enemies, it's just a people. Torskal, uncertain. I kind of have some ideas about Torskal, but I'm not there yet. Okay, anyway. Let's see if we Pokenan BK. Hi, I don't know if you're still here, but if you are, hello. I know that there's a significant delay between what I see in the chat and this. So if I didn't get to you in time, I sincerely apologize. But hello, and you are amazing. Stay adorable. My God, I got chills when you pointed out the marshland by the Cthulhu, perfect for trolls and Pete. Yes, Josh. Yeah, this is. Tell me, I am so excited about some of this stuff. You know what? Hold on. Let me create a little preview right over here. All right, 1 second. Let me come back over here. Let me grab this source. I'm gonna pop it in right here. Okay, that's now huge. Let me 1 second, friends. Let me get this here so we can at least stay on top. I'm going to put the center here. Put this down somewhere over here. Is that the center? Yeah. Okay, let me blow it up a little bit. Move this down. Moves down a little bit more and pop. All right, so this way at least we have, if I wanted to zoom in and show it to you, we can. Yeah, I'm loving the Marsh Kingdom. I'm loving so far. I have to admit, I'm really in love with everything that has appeared here. Finally, I feel like a dam burst and all these ideas came out. So I'm really, really happy. Sosa, hey. Wait, was that BK? Oh, cool. Yeah, some substances are still liquid in Arctic temperatures. They are. Some substances are, sure. Yeah, their freezing point may not be, what's reached in those Arctic regions. But nonetheless. Why are they there? I don't know what you're referring to, but I just saw the 7th Age landmass. To the south? Wait a second. Let me see here. What did you see? You saw the 7th Age landmass? Where? Where do you see that? You're talking down here? Kind of curious what you're referring to. So just saw the 7th age landmass to the south. Different planet, Josh. It is a different planet. Dave is correct. This map is totally different in the 7th age, like Waterworld. But it is a different planet. Yeah, they're not on the same planet. This is different. What is the planet called in the 7th age? No name had been given to it yet. I mean, it's not like much ancient history myth could survive the Syndicate anyway. Oh, I don't know about that. Oh, I don't know about that, man. I mean, that's it's true. The Syndicate will. All right, so let's take a look at this for a second. Take a look at our own history, where certain country governments have attempted to eradicate religion, and in so doing, they thought they did a pretty good job. But you don't have control over everyone's minds. And so some people, like in North Korea, for example, ow. My jaw just got tight. Ow. Sorry. There are still some homes there where they have to lower their shades in order to watch a particular program or to worship or to do whatever. So I would say that faith is a very human instinct. We have a need to bind ourselves to something greater than ourselves, whether that be an organization, a community, a religion, or what have you. It just seems to be like a human trait. So I think that religion would exist anywhere, even if it's just in the hearts or minds of people. I mean, I'm an atheist. I'm definitely a science type of person, but I can see where it would exist anywhere, and I want that represented here. And so in the 7th age, you're going to see that as well. Guaranteed. And it's going to be upcoming in the 7th age game on Fridays. Sorry for trying to basically tell me a story about the 7th age. No. Don't ever. Don't worry about that. Zoom out south of Lichdeep. Yeah, no, this landmass here, it may look a little bit like it, but no, this is just Majordal, the country or the continent of Majordal. So, not quite. Let's see here. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to bait. You can just ask. That's not a problem at all. Alrighty. So I'm really curious about something now. I'm just going to check up on. I'm going to go elsewhere in the world real quick. I'm going to check in on Facebook and see who's there. I don't know if anybody's watching on Facebook. I don't even know if that's a thing. You know? Let me see. I'm kind of curious. We don't typically get a lot of traction on Facebook, so I have no idea. 12 comments, 1 share. That's cool. Oh, some people. Oh yeah, some people have commented on it. 16 people have seen it. 21 engaged with it. So that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. What's happening over here on YouTube? Where are we on that? And then I'm going to start getting right into the world. I'm going to start completing some of that. And that's going to be pretty quiet. All right, let me get to the channel real quick. I swear I lost some subscribers on YouTube. Either that or I just gained some. I can't tell. Did I just gain some? Oh, you liked it. I had to see the VOD to be sure. Josh. Oh, I see. I should... Duty Booty 3000 commented. You should have a VTM crossover session. That I know. This was from 4 weeks ago, but it's kind of... I mean, that's kind of a thing. That's kind of a thing. Theron jumped over here and Denise poked her in the head. You may have noticed Herlin keeps mentioning the dead gods. I'm trying to create a religion. Yeah. Around subversion similar to... oh, wow. Early to Christian Gnosticism. That is a thing. What country does the Syndicate originate from? They didn't. There was at the end of... at the end of the 6th age, there were a good amount of companies that were really starting to make headway into civilizations and started the concept of lobbyists hit hard in the early Sixth Age, as things started to go from guilds and businesses into larger industrial type of places where a single person was in charge of a line of products or services, and other people were then hired to carry that out, with that one person no longer doing that. That's where some guilds ended up going, and then those guilds ended up forming into companies, those companies into conglomerates. Some of them by this time started really feeding into government, and they had kept, in the name of greed, they ended up keeping people under their thumb and denied them time to really think on their own. The end result of this was a privatization of certain aspects of government, and then eventually government itself, and then eventually a world government. And by that time, space had already been gotten into. They had already landed on 1 or 2 of the moons. Much of this world here was stripped of its resources, and a lot of the green that we see on this map just simply ceased to exist. And once this world was depleted, they then moved on to other worlds. And there was a period of, in between the 6th and the 7th Age, when interstellar travel was simply not plausible. And so there's like a period of several hundred years where terraforming as a science began to take hold. And by that time, a company had come around by the name of Blue Horizons. They perfected the terraforming process and terraformed a planet in another solar system. It was only after an ion engine had been created and they were able to achieve near light speed speeds. However, it required an insane amount of energy, and they ended up getting some of that energy from magic. And because magic was by this time, the notion of interplanetary teleport was no longer a thing. A lot of stuff got lost in the transition from the 5th to the 6th Age. As alchemy started to take over, and sciences began to replace magic, and magic started being looked at as a religion, and then finally religion was just sworn off. People started forgetting about the gods, but Blue Horizon and other industry or other companies started holding on to the magic. And as they did so, they began to capitalize on it. And the schools that taught magic were gone. Nobody did that anymore, so they started holding on to these things as trade secrets. And even then, they found out that that by getting rid of the deities, they did not get rid of the magic, which supports the notion that the deities exist whether or not they are worshipped. They exist, and they continue to exist for as long as the actions that those deities represent continue to be committed. So a deity of murder would continue to exist, providing murder continues to exist, and that will always be there. So, after some time, they realized that magic was just not good enough, and the last bastion of magic, which was in a company storehold, just faded away like an old textbook. And instead, they discovered wormhole transport, and they discovered the true nature of Scythia's universe. Scythia by this time had already been forgotten as a name, and it was just kind of like what old gods of ancient civilizations to us might be. By that time, science now was able to pretty much replicate anything that magic could do, so they saw no reason why they would do that, why they would invest time in magic. So they did their thing. They settled on to other, into extrasolar systems, came into those areas, found planets that were a size that they had a set parameter, terraform, put people there, depleted over the course of several hundred years, and then move on. There was a period there where they terraformed something like 40, 50 exoplanets, and in very rapid design, and those turned out to be absolute catastrophic failures, and there were millions and millions of deaths. But by this time, it became rather apparent that all these disparate companies that were around, each doing all of these things, would simply benefit if they were to unite. And originally it was an alliance, a trade organization was developed, and that eventually became the Syndicate. So the Syndicate does not have a planetary home or a point of origin. It started off as a concept. Now the seventh age that we find ourselves in the Seventh Age Friday games, that's so far ahead, you're looking at thousands of years. And they have now developed, because people haven't changed that much, they kind of developed a religion, and that religion was kind of centered around the head of the mythological figure who is the head of it all, somehow, some way orchestrating this. And they now have gone intergalactic, and they claim out of the hundreds of billions of planets, 3 freaking galaxies. So it is massive, and it might as well be godlike with the amount of power that they have. So overthrowing the Syndicate is like, well, I'll put it this way: Star Wars in a galaxy, and then the rest of the crawl text reads, in a galaxy far, far away, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, or whatever it is. And I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm so bad with this. Even that was only one galaxy. So I don't know how they hold on to it, but let's just say tenuously. Hey, Josh, thanks for subbing on YouTube. Really appreciate that. You may have noticed I believe Troran jumped over here and Denise poked her in the head. On Facebook, thank you. Are the Syndicate androids, or are they soul crystals in mechanical bodies rather than dolls? The Syndicate is are the Syndicate androids? You're talking about the simulants. They're droids with an AI. They haven't yet perfected AI. And all that time of tech, they haven't yet perfected AI. But they are not soul crystals. Blind Service, still playing games in the 7th Age. Yep. Yeah, they are. You guys shower and get ready for work. All right, Josh, have a fantastic one. Would make sense to press knowledge of the gods and power of the unspoken. Yeah. However, there's no real competition between the unspoken and the Tessarian deities. The Tirsar and the unspoken. Well, first off, we have to understand that the Tirsar are the end-all be-all. They are that's it. From them came the unspoken as one of the possibilities of a physical universe. How that physical universe exists is entirely different, with a different set of physics than this one. So they like we understand that water is the basis of life and carbon is the building blocks of it. So, or not the base of life, but living things come from areas where there is water. What if you had creatures that did not come from either of those? It's entirely possible. For example, think about this for a moment. In the high atmosphere of Jupiter, where the clouds are still lighter in density, and it's not this crushing pressure. What if you were to have massive creatures that floated, like filled with gas, and simply floated in that portion of the atmosphere, I guess stratosphere or what have you, in that layer? What would they feed on? Well, they might feed on smaller things. So, is there water up there? I mean, there might be water crystals or something. I don't know. This is where astrophysics and I go our separate ways. I don't know enough. As a writer, I can tell you that the unspoken are not a physical entity like anything that we know. When people draw comparisons between the unspoken and Lovecraft's works 100%, you're going to see some similarities there. I was heavily influenced by Lovecraft growing up. But I think that's where the similarities end. I did want an alien elder god type of thing. I have no problem admitting that came from Lovecraft. That the whole tentacle aspect of it, likewise, is kind of like the same thing. But how they arrive, now we start incorporating some of the Tessarian concept of magic as we understand it in Evindale. And we understand that the Unspoken doesn't even practice that. They practice their own brand of something that has nothing to do with this universe. So they truly are alien. 100%. They not only come from a different place, they come from a different place outside of this universe. That's terrifying to me. You can't even predict what they're going to do. You don't know what they can do. I mean, you yourself illustrated, what was it, 8 tentacles surrounding a llama head that had all popped out of a brick wall. Yeah, I mean, that's horrific. That's horrific. So yeah. Anyway, alrighty. This turned out to be, I think, fairly successful. I still don't know what the lag time is to Facebook or what have you, but it looks like that everything was all right. There are some things I do need to do now that I look at the time and I realize that I've talked a bunch, which is really, really cool. Wow. Let me see. I'm going up on Facebook now to see what this is like. Let me check into YouTube really quick. Wow, the picture is fantastic. Including a huge shark? Wait a minute. Whoa! I see messages on YouTube that didn't make it over into Streamlabs. Oh, no, it did. It's just appearing on YouTube first, then it appearing on Streamlabs. Okay. That's really weird. A huge shark. Same here. Would love to know what is living at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, for example. Oh my God, was that 7 miles under? It's just, it's got to be some absolutely horrific stuff. Can you imagine the things that can withstand that kind of pressure? Yeah, and a huge shark. Well, anyway, alrighty, my friends, this has been a success. This is really, really cool. Thanks everyone for joining me for this. I'm gonna call it quits. I think we did very well. I think we did very, very well. For a stream that started. Oh, I see what's happening here. Okay. Are some things I do need to do? No. Stop. Okay. I had to stop Facebook from making noise. This is cool. All right. Anyway, it looks like that we did a fairly good job today between YouTube and Facebook. I have to understand their own intricacies and how mods and how moderation works and other stuff. I'll certainly be doing this again. So I really enjoyed showing everyone what's been going on behind the scenes and how much more we have to go. So if you like what you're seeing here on YouTube, then subscribe and follow. Subscribe here and click the bell. You know what to do. And over there on Facebook, give us a follow over there. We're probably going to hold games in the future on these platforms. Not necessarily just on Twitch. I kind of want Evindale to expand out to these other platforms, so I'm really happy that I did this. Anyway, guys, like I said, I'm going to call it. Have an absolutely fantastic day. It feels so weird. I don't have any way to. How do you raid someone who's like that? We can't raid on Facebook. We can't raid on YouTube. So weird. Anyway, you know what to do, guys. Go love each other, enjoy life, and stay dorkable. I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much for joining.